All right, so if you go to the Way Forward Act, it proposes, now this is the, you can actually type this in and the actual bill will come up on your computer. It's the Way Forward Act, and it says in the section about crime, it says that there will be a law that will be stricken, and there's actually a hot link in the law to the thing that will be stricken. And so you read the bill, you press on the hot link, and the thing that will be stricken is a law that deals with inadmissible aliens. And the paragraph is paragraph A, and paragraph A, section item 2 says that illegal aliens will now be permitted even if they have a history of physical, mental disorder and a history of behavior associated with threats to property, safety, or welfare of the alien or others, and which behavior is likely to recur or to lead to other harmful behavior. So it goes on and on.
Wait, go back. Because it says, except as otherwise provided, aliens who are inadmissible under the following paragraphs are ineligible to receive visas and ineligible to be admitted to the United States.
Mm-hmm. This paragraph is going to be stricken.
Okay, can I see?
Okay, Rick.
All right, I just want to.
Can you turn the camera off?
No, it takes time. No, I see. I just wanted to understand.
Article.
So this shit's being taken out, is what you're saying?
Yeah. So now we have to admit people that are serious threats to themselves and others.
All right. So I looked through this thing. It's hard to read a bill.
It's not hard to read it. You click on the hot links.
No, I'm just saying that this bill has at least 7 sections. It's designed to reform the border and homeland security.
It's designed to have criminals come back to the U.S. if they're illegal aliens.
It's got a bunch of suggested, or it wants to reform.
I don't care if it wants to reform. I'm just giving you in black and white.
All right,
it says that it will permit people into the country that are serious threats to themselves or others.
Why do you call them illegal aliens? They're people, undocumented folks, aren't they? Lance?
They're aliens to the United States.
So anyway, this is part of an overall bill that does a bunch of stuff. Not that it's going to pass, even the House.
But 44 of your Democrats are for it. 44 Democrats want to allow criminals back into the United States and to make sure that criminal behavior is not a determinant in deporting people.
Okay. It also wants to...
I don't care what the other things it wants are, Rick.
Okay. Like it doesn't want private...
So would you say... No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It doesn't want for-profit, private prisons to hold undocumented immigrants.
Well, that's heartwarming. So do you retract your assertion that the Democrat Party is boldly standing up against illegal immigration?
I just said that the Democrats don't want illegal immigration either.
20% of them in the Congress are willing to let people back into the country after they've proven themselves to be a threat to themselves, to the safety of themselves or others. Criminals. Now, if you're not for, if that doesn't show that you're for illegal immigration, I don't know what does.
Okay. I mean...
All right, now I want to go on to another topic. In our last show, Rick made a very interesting statement, and I found it very puzzling. I had said that one of the beautiful things about the Trump economy that puts the lie to Democrat propaganda about Republicans' policies being cruel to the poor is that it's actually the lower classes that are getting more of the benefits of the Trump economy. That as the economy improves, it's actually improving from the bottom up. And Rick said something. He said something that really gave me pause. Rick said that the reason is because there are a lot of states that are raising minimum wage laws. So raising the minimum wage, and that's what's making poor people wealthier. So I didn't have much of an answer. I thought, well, gee, I didn't know that. So I made the I thought, salient point that having a job at all was what was increasing the wealth among poor people, because it turns out that we have the lowest unemployment for 60 years. So
I think it's in history.
for some groups,
Okay.
for Asians, blacks, and Hispanics, it's the lowest in history. Now, it turns out, so I looked it up. I thought, well, gee, is the raising of the minimum wage a Democrat idea? What's causing this increase in prosperity among the lower classes? No! Amazingly, Rick is again a victim of Democrat lies and propaganda designed to confuse him. It turns out, according to an article by PBS, the Public Broadcasting System, a leftist organization, it turns out that raising the minimum wage is undisputably a cause for the firing of low-wage and of low-skilled workers. That actually it works in reverse against the poor. Whenever they raise the minimum wage, the businesses start firing the low-skilled workers and going to automation. That's the result, inevitably. Moreover,
Yeah, where do those fired workers go? Because they're, with unemployment being at the lowest level.
I'm not done yet.
Yeah, but those people go somewhere to get jobs.
Okay, well,
'Cause they're employed, 'cause
but apparently unemployment would be at an even lower level if it wasn't for the Democrats raising minimum wage to levels that businesses don't want to pay. That's why they're going to automation. It's cheaper to have an expensive machine than an expensive employee. But there's more. If the raising of minimum wage is what was causing all of this prosperity among the lower classes, then it would mean that a lot of the lower classes were getting minimum wage. And it turns out, nope, only 1.8% of the population of the US is making money at minimum wage. And the studies show that when their raises go, when when they get more money, it's because the business was going to give them a raise anyway. That inevitably they start out at minimum wage, which is an entry-level position, and that gives the business a chance to evaluate the employee and then funnel them up to a higher level if they want to keep them. Another result of raising the minimum wage is that a lot of people that would have been working at minimum wage and getting some income end up having to work for free as apprentices because the business is no longer willing to give them a little bit of a supplement to their income to learn. So it is not the raising of the minimum wages in Democrat radical states that's causing the prosperity among the lower classes. I'm not finished. But there's something even more important and more mathematically clear and crisp, and that is this statistic. Under the Obama administration, the median household income was $60,000 a year, and in the whole 8 years of his administration, he had succeeded in raising the level of the median household income by $1,000. Trump, in only 3 years, has raised the median household income from $60,000 to $66,000. 5 times the level of Obama. And
6 times if you're going by those numbers.
fantastic. 6 times. Thank you, Rick. A time when your mathematical genius...
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, because Obama raised it from 60 to 61, and then from 61 to 66 is 5 times.
I guess I was right the first time.
Sorry.
Now, my final point is, so it turns out that the Trump administration is what is helping the lower classes for a variety of reasons, among them deregulation, lowering taxes, et cetera, et cetera. But it is Trump policies. That's
You don't have that paper handy.
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact,
Awesome,
I do.
awesome.
I have one article in the public broadcasting
Yeah, show me that
system, a leftist organization, NPR, and I also have an article from the National Review. So you can read both sides saying the same thing. Here you can read National Review first if you want, and then I'll give you the one from public broadcasting
All
system.
right, so
Shut off the camera.
One sec. All right, so Lance makes good points, though I have a couple questions. The PBS article says that 1.8% of the population, of the working population, was making minimum wage as of, 2015. So that was 4.5, 5 years ago. I'd like to see if that's changed at all. And then in the other article, I found this chart which is wage growth year over year from 1998 till now. And I'll show you here. So wages have continued to grow every year from... Wages never reversed. It's not like the average...
Okay, hold on 1 second.
It's not like the average wages for various quartiles of people ever went down. They slowed to just 2% or so for roughly 5 years after the crash of 2008.
Okay.
But have climbed steadily from roughly 2011 until now.
Bring the flap down a little bit. No. Okay.
So it's not like... Anyway.
Good. Got it.
Okay.
Well, according to this chart, though, what's interesting to me is that the lowest point for the wages was not directly after the crash of 2008. It turns out that the lowest point was 4 years later at the end of Obama's first term in 2012.
Well, you're looking at...
Yeah, see that?
Those are for the highest wage earners. The lowest point for everybody else was...
No, this is just the first quarter.
No, quartile. Those are wage...
Quartile.
Those are the highest paid 25% of people.
Is that what it's?
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Well, anyway, everybody was at their lowest in 2012 anyway. They were a little lower in 2011 here.
Puri McPherson was at their lowest level in 2011, and then 2012.
So
Richie
three years into the Obama administration.
So, but if you look, if you look at the Bush, whatever, the recession, apparently it's based on this graph, it's after the recession that it takes a couple of years for wage growth to start climbing again. So I don't know how that works, but apparently if you look at the graph, that's what it tends to indicate.
Well, the point is that the difference between these are, okay, what I'm trying to make is this, that if the increase has gone for median income has gone from 60,000 to 66,000, 61,000 to 66,000. That's going to affect the middle class because 60,000 is the middle in the 60s.
Okay,
So
that's true.
all I'm saying is that the Trump economy is going brilliantly, and I can show you this article right here. This is a good article. It's recent. It's January 10th, 2020. National Review. Wages soar fastest among those with the least. I recommend everyone to read this article because it shows in detail why the Trump economy is going so well, and why the Democrats who are saying that the Republican policies are hurting the poor are just lying and making a poor guy like Rick want to leave the country because he thinks everything is so bad under Trump.
Well, actually,
And go ahead.
I've done really well. No, I shouldn't say, I mean, it's bad to talk about that stuff, but knock on wood, we've done okay under a variety of administrations. And maybe I want to take, the assets we've been lucky enough to accumulate after a lifetime of working and stuff, and I can certainly buy a nice house in British Columbia, in a non-fancy part of British Columbia, for less than we would make from selling our house in Studio City. You don't have to be scared about America. I mean, yeah, you can be scared about America, but you don't have to be scared about America to want to move to Canada.
Actually,
Or to someplace outside of Manchester, England.
this is actually fascinating to me, and because I've spoken with a number of leftists
Yeah.
that would like to move to Canada or Europe, and as I hated Obama as much as Rick hates Trump, but I would never abandon my country. So that right there tells you the difference between a Republican and a Democrat. I'm an American, and I wouldn't leave my country regardless of who the president was.
What were you scared
So
of?
I think the average American leftist at base doesn't really love America as much as the average conservative does. And that's why, and it's borne out by all these Democrats that want to leave the country. So you revealed your feelings, Rick.
Okay. I mean, I love America, but that doesn't mean that I have to live full time in America. And I'm also allowed to be nervous about America, to the point where we start looking at other places to live.
Okay, so you were going to ask me what it was that
You were
I was
scared
afraid
about
of
under Obama.
I wasn't afraid, I was ashamed. Because I knew that if he was elected, we would lose the Iraq War, he would make sure we would lose it, and that Iran would be on the path to getting a nuclear bomb. I thought they'd have it under his administration. And actually,
Instead, we got a treaty.
that brings to me, that actually brings to mind one last thing I wanted to mention that I found out about Obama this week. According to Haaretz, an Israeli newspaper, a left-wing Israeli newspaper, by the way, Obama warned Iran about an Israeli plan to assassinate Soleimani. And so they were able to the Obama administration disrupted that plan to kill Soleimani. Soleimani, for those of you that don't remember, is the head of the Iranian murderous Quds force, recently Trump assassinated him. Rick, of course, had mixed feelings about that, but the Obama administration actually thwarted the Israeli attempt to kill him. You want to see the article, Rick?
Sure.
So all the Democrats on the Democratic stage said they wouldn't have pulled the trigger on killing Soleimani or whatever his name is.
A lot of them did, yeah.
All of them said they wouldn't have killed him. So.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, oh, you mean the Democrat candidates? Yeah, like Pete Buttigieg thinks it was a mistake to kill Soleimani. So
how do you feel about that?
Just another example of how, Soleimani, in addition to killing thousands of Syrians and Iranians, is responsible for murdering over 600 American troops. And the Democrats, they don't think an American life is worth that much. They don't really love America.
So, this is latest news, biblical perspective.
Do you have anything to say on the Iowa caucuses, Lance?
Yeah, so anyway, recently, we're doing this show right after the Iowa caucus, and it turns out that Bernie Sanders was projected to win.
I'm not sure if I'd want to see more stuff, because this comes from...
Yeah, Rick doesn't believe the article. He knows better. He doesn't have any proof that it's wrong, but he refuses to believe the article.
Because
it criticizes Obama. So it couldn't be true. It just couldn't be.
It's breaking Israel news, latest news, biblical perspective. And medical and scientific miracles. I don't know what the thing is. And it comes
It's Haaretz. Have you ever read Haaretz? There are two main newspapers in Israel, Haaretz and Jerusalem Post. Okay?
Yeah.
So Rick doesn't believe an Israeli newspaper if it criticizes Obama. Now, another thing I wanted to say is that the Iowa caucus projected Sanders to win the polls showed that Sanders was 4 points ahead and was going to win the caucus. And then mysteriously, the Clinton people that were running the app fucked up. And now we don't know who won the Iowa caucus. Maybe Sanders, maybe Buttigieg. And my point is this. The Democrats...
They have exact vote totals.
Okay, the Democrats are doing everything they can to stop Bernie Sanders. And I love it, because this is what's going to happen. Either Bernie Sanders is going to win the nomination and be crushed by Trump because Americans don't want a communist president, or they're gonna screw Sanders the way they did last time, and 10% of the Sanders supporters won't vote at all, and 10% will vote for Trump because they're so pissed off. So good work, Democrats. Your corrupt, heavy-handed Stalinist tactics of election fraud and corruption are going to destroy you a second time. Thank you. That and being pro-socialism. So you can't win, and what's happening is the fruit of your labor is coming down on you. This is what you deserve, because the Democrat Party has been nothing but a poison root in this country. Bringing socialism, leftism, corruption, and now it's all coming home to you.
Yeah, we're either the 8th or the 11th least socialist country in the
Not
world.
if Bernie Sanders has his way, Rick. Do you deny that Bernie Sanders is a socialist?
He's a socialist.
Thank you. He's your party's nominee, unless they can stop it.
He may be the nominee.
Okay, so the Democrat Party is largely socialist and largely in favor of illegal immigration. Right, Rick?
No.
Can you prove me wrong, please, with documents? Or is it just a mood?
I don't have to prove anything.
Yeah, you do. You do. Because I do. I provide statistics and articles. I provided the bill that was in Congress today.
Okay.
I want you to prove to me that Bernie Sanders is not a socialist.
He is a socialist.
So if he wins the party's nomination, does that mean that the Democrat Party is socialist?
I don't think so.
I'm done. Thank you.
You don't have to walk away.
No, I'm done. I'm done. And I'll tell you what. My job is not to convince the opposing attorney. My job is to convince the judge. You, in our millions of people audience, are the judge.
All right, so
If you think that Rick was right about that, that's fine. I can't change his mind. But I just proved that the Democrat Party is socialist.
no. All right, so for one thing, it's like Best Picture. The Iowa caucuses are early on, and most of the time, the winner of the caucuses isn't the nominee.
If Sanders gets the nomination, then the Democrat Party is
And he
socialist.
might. I hope he doesn't.
If
And
he gets the nomination, would the Democrat Party be socialist?
No,
But he is a socialist.
he is a socialist.
So if they nominate a socialist, then they are socialist.
I don't know. I don't think we'd be dumb enough to nominate a socialist.
If you do, then your party is socialist, Rick.
I still don't know, but I think...
There are people out there watching you
I know,
and
but-
wondering why you can't just admit that. It's a logical thing. You have to admit it. It can't go both ways.
All right, so here's one argument. That if people don't like every other nominee, every other person running is a Democrat, like this, for instance, I don't think that that the Republican Party is a pussy-grabbing party, right? But the nominee said he grabs pussies because he can.
He said you could.
You could.
If you were a billionaire, which is true.
Okay, so, but I don't think a majority of Republicans support pussy grabbing. Yet, their nominee said that that if you're a billionaire or a star or whatever, you can grab pussies.
Which is true.
Okay, fine.
And a Republican wouldn't have to support grabbing pussies. One could agree, though.
All right, pussy grabbing aside.
That women are more likely to easily go to bed with a billionaire than they are with ordinary men.
Surveys have shown that a majority of Americans would like it if Trump tweeted less and were more presidential in the way he spoke.
Rick,
So,
if Trump was a Nazi, I wouldn't vote for him.
But the deal is,
if Trump was a Nazi and he got the Republican nomination, I would say the Republican Party was Nazi. I would accept that. I would be honest. You can't be. You can't. The reason you can't be honest is because if you were really honest, you'd have to admit that you were wrong and that the Democrat Party is evil. And you can't do it. You can't be honest. You have to lie for them.
You guys
You have to lie for them. Even if they nominate a socialist, you have to lie for them. You have to say, no, they're not socialist. They nominated a socialist, but they're not socialist. Don't you feel bad having to lie?
No, because you want to make a bet that Bernie Sanders is not going to be the nominee?
I'll bet you $1.
Okay, $1. I'm saying he's not going to be the nominee.
Okay, so if he
And
gets...
who might be the nominee?
Wait, if he gets the nomination, is the Democrat Party socialist?
Not necessarily, because there's a lot of shit about, and I'm making this argument, I'll make it clearly, I think you understand, but just for everybody, there's a lot of stuff about Trump that Republicans don't like, but they like enough about Trump that they support him, right? So,
Yeah,
and if you look at...
but it's not Sanders versus Trump, Rick.
No, it was Trump versus all the other Republican nominees.
Yeah, I understand.
Or candidates.
But they were all similar in policy. If Sanders is the most socialist of the Democrat candidates, so if he beats out the conservative Democrats, then it means that the Democrat Party is left-wing.
Well, the Democrat Party is left-wing.
but to the point where they'd rather have a socialist than anybody else. That would mean that they were socialist, Rick. Look at the mental gymnastics.
The first two. I'll buy the first two steps in your logic, but
they're not choosing Sanders over Trump. They're choosing Sanders over Bloomberg.
Maybe. I think Bloomberg is more likely to be the nominee.
Okay, but if Sanders gets the nomination, then that means that the Democrat Party is socialist.
Maybe. We'll see how it
listen, I don't want to go around in
you don't
circles.
have to walk.
I have to go to sleep. Seriously, the show's over. It's one.
All right, so just to say, it doesn't. There's a lot of shit that can happen in the next 5 months before the nominee is named, and shit could happen that indicates to me that Sanders is the nominee, because we want socialist policies. But shit could also happen that would make Sanders the nominee that doesn't indicate to me that we want socialist policies, but rather that all the other candidates have been disqualified for one reason, and he's the last guy standing.
I'll tell you.
That's a reasonable.
No, it's not. I'll tell you the flaw in your logic.
Okay.
If all the Republican candidates were conservative Republicans, but one of them was a Nazi, and then that would mean that you supported the Nazi. If he got the nomination, nothing about the other candidates could ever get me to support the Nazi. So if you've got a socialist running in your primary, and you vote for him over a conservative Democrat, that means you want socialism, because you had a choice.
Probably
you could
so.
have had a more conservative Democrat.
Probably so, but we got to wait for the shit to play out.
All right.
He may not be the nominee, or he may be the nominee because
Right.
two people decide that everybody else sucks ass.
One other thing. Would you vote for Bernie Sanders, the socialist, over Trump?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it wouldn't be because I want socialism.
Oh, okay. You see, if there was a Nazi running against Sanders, I would vote for Sanders over the Nazi. So, in other words, my hatred of Nazism is greater than my hatred of the Democrats. But your hatred of Trump is not as great as your hatred of socialism. Socialism is more acceptable to you than Nazism is to me.
Well, I've made this argument before, and you poo-poo it, even though it's a deal, it's a thing. That even if Bernie Sanders were elected president, we wouldn't have what I would consider socialism, because that shit wouldn't get. Wouldn't expect that shit to get through.
Well, all right.
I just one real quick, 2 questions. Do you think Hillary jumps into the race?
No.
There's speculation that she may at the end of the day, and then
Yeah, but people can speculate all sorts of shit.
what do you think, Lance?
I don't know. It's hard to predict. I think she'd like to. She's crazy. By the way, I would like to say something about Pelosi.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Now,
yeah.
this is new. At this filming, at the time of this filming, Trump has just given the State of the Union speech, and sitting behind him, Nancy Pelosi ostentatiously ripped up his speech.
Wait, there's more. Not only did she rip it up, but she pre-ripped it to make sure it would tear when she wanted it to.
Yeah. Now, I just want to say something. I've discussed this with a number of Democrats, and they all say, good, we're glad she did that. She needed to do that. But this is the first time in my following of politics that I firmly believe that a major U.S. politician is completely insane. Now, I'm not exaggerating. I literally think this was demonstrative of somebody that's mentally ill. Because for her to think that this was somehow a reasonable thing to do, because I've talked with a lot of people. I've talked with independents, and people are really disturbed by it. It's like it reminds me of a scene in a movie one time where the the person murdered somebody's pet rabbit.
That would be
And-
fatal attraction.
Yeah, and it was the first time you realized that the person's crazy. And I think for her to do this, this isn't normal, this isn't just politics or disapproval. There's something weird about it. And good for you, Rick. You've got a crazy leader for your party. Thank
As
you.
opposed to the president.
Who doesn't act like that. He's never done anything like that. That was
He's
weird.
never torn paper.
Did you think that was weird, Rick, or were you in
No,
favor
I thought
of
it
that?
was a theatrical
You liked
gesture.
that theatrical gesture.
I don't know if I liked it.
You
'cause-
think you think she should do things like that?
No,
behind
you know,
the-
I didn't care one way or the other about that. What I like is when Bloomberg starts saying kind of the same kind of shit that Trump says back to Trump. Like when somebody, his most famous retort so far is, you know, do you think, somebody asked him, do you think Americans want 2 billionaires running for president? And he's like, who's the other billionaire? I like that.
Okay, Rick, do you think that Nancy Pelosi enlarged her reputation by doing this? Do you think that was good?
I don't think it, I think she's trying shit. I don't think it was particularly effective or ineffective. I think it didn't change anybody's mind.
No, but I want to know what you think of it from an ethical and moral standpoint. Was it a sensible, intelligent decision on her part?
It was
Would you have done it?
probably, but I do
You would
lots of
have.
shit.
You would have torn up the speech behind the president.
Maybe.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you don't see anything odd about it, or
Well, I
violent?
think we live in an odd time of an uncivil time in politics.
Okay, so
Trump does.
you're in favor of this sort of thing. You support it.
I'm okay with it. I don't think.
Should
it
she have thrown a chair?
No.
Okay.
She's not going to be thrown. She's like 80 years old.
Okay. So you think it's okay to see an 80-year-old woman ripping up papers on the stand there?
It's paper.
It's
Yeah.
okay by you.
Like, she tried another thing earlier.
Uh-huh.
And she tried to shake hands with the president, and he turned his back on
No,
her.
I saw. I
She didn't
understand.
really give
He
him.
He didn't shake anybody's hand.
Yeah. So
he didn't
so,
shake Mike Pence's hand. He just went up and gave his
Right.
speech.
So I think
And,
that.
even if he hadn't shook her hand, that doesn't justify this weird.
No,
behavior.
you're not getting what I'm saying.
Okay.
That she tried two things.
Uh-huh.
She tried this shake hands deal to try to make him look bad.
Okay.
And I don't know, did that work? Probably not. Nobody cares. Nobody's mind's getting changed. And then she tries the tearing paper deal. And again, the people on one side will get pissed. The people on the other side will be like, you know, it's like, or like good for her, or whatever. And nobody's mind gets changed. Everybody's pissed at
I
everybody
don't
else.
care whose mind gets changed. I care about your mind. In your mind, what she did was fine. You think that's the way people should behave. You think
I'm okay with her
that
trying.
that showed her to be a fair and reasonable and wise leader. That's what wise leaders do, Rick, right?
She tore paper.
She tore paper. Like this? Was
No.
what she did the same as this? She tore paper?
No,
Like that?
it's not.
So
she
it
tore
was
a copy
it was,
of the president.
It was a little more bizarre, wasn't it, Rick?
It wasn't bizarre. It
Look
was-
how you've got to lie for her. She tore paper. Look, like that, Rick?
She tore
Why
a
do you have
copy.
to lie? Why don't you just say she acted like an animal up there? And you're kind of embarrassed, aren't you?
No,
Okay, so what does that say about you?
It says
Is that how
It
we
says
should-
that I'm-
So when you've been criticizing Trump all this time for his demeanor,
Yeah.
you're actually just a hypocrite.
no.
Because you like it when politicians behave like that, right?
It's a
So anything Trump says from now on is not as weird as that. So you're okay with the things Trump's been saying.
Well, this is stupid logic. Trump is an uncivil politician.
But Nancy Pelosi's behavior was perfectly justified in your opinion.
I think she's trying stuff.
She's trying stuff.
She is trying stuff. Yeah.
Would you say that what she did was uncivil?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay, so civility is really important to you, is it, Rick? Whether Trump does
In
it
an
or
uncivil
Pelosi.
time, I'm okay with incivility.
I see.
Like,
Okay,
would-
so why don't you just stop telling me that you want Trump to be more presidential? Because you really don't care.
well, no, if he's going to be uncivil, if he's going to be him, I like when people are uncivil back.
Okay, well, that's very big of you. I'm impressed by your standards there.
All right,
So,
like,
so if Trump, so you want your politicians to be equally childish to people that you think are childish.
maybe, like, there's this quote, I think it comes from Michelle Obama, which says, when they go low,
Rector.
no, when they go low, we go high.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people think, and I think when people go low hasn't been that effective, so now people are trying to be uncivil back. Like, Trump has been saying that Bloomberg has been because Bloomberg's not tall, he's like 5'8".
She's shorter than that.
Shorter than that? All right, okay, so he's even
It's like
shorter
5'3".
than that. Anyway, he's not tall. So Trump's been saying that Bloomberg is demanding a box to stand on for whatever debates he's in. And has been denying it. And so it's Trump was just making it up. So if Trump's going to do that, and among the other things that he does, I'm okay if, for instance, if Bloomberg were to say something like, well, I may be short, but at least I'm not fat. That would be great.
Oh, he's 5'8", right?
Okay, 5'8". I'm okay with incivility if it helps us gain ground.
I think that there is a difference between tit for tat insults and ripping up copies of a man's speech before Congress on the State of the Union Day. That's a very weird thing she did, and it's not comparable to a Twitter exchange. It's a very weird thing to bring to the American
It's not
government.
weird. It's
Yeah,
just...
it is. It's not the way we behave in our Congress. Now, in South American countries, sometimes they cane each other. They attack each other. I've seen these kinds of things
Yeah,
in
brawls.
Turkey.
Yeah.
South Korea, I think, but not in America. But the Democrats have brought
I didn't
back,
see anybody hitting anybody.
Yeah,
In fact,
but this to me was a violent thing. The destruction of property is the beginning of violence to me.
okay, so you think ripping
I think
paper is
I think it was
It's violent.
inappropriate. It was inappropriate for the United States government to have this kind of violent activity. It's not a Twitter exchange, Rick.
You know
it's
what,
not
I
the
did-
same thing.
I'm thinking
And
back.
it's not just ripping paper, okay? That's, to me, if you stand behind somebody and ostentatiously rip their speech after the State of the Union address, this is a symbolic act that leads to violence, that calls for violence, that sustains a kind
I
of
can
violence.
speak to this now that I remember, because one time I stood on a podium in front of a crowd.
I'm not talking about you on a podium in front of a crowd. I'm talking about the U.S.
I
Congress.
took a copy of a speech,
Okay, I'm talking
and I
about
tore
the
it in
US
half.
Okay, I'm talking about the
I
U.S.
violently
Congress.
tore it. Well, it was
Yeah.
paper, so it wasn't that violent. But I did the same
So,
thing.
yeah, but this is the U.S. Congress. We don't
Okay.
behave like that. This isn't like Turkey or somewhere where people end up fighting in the Congress.
Okay,
It's not the same as a Twitter exchange, right?
Okay, fine. You know what? You can call it violent. You can say it's the equivalent, the congressional equivalent of boiling a bunny. And I'm going to say that she tore a copy of the president's speech in half.
And you're okay with it.
One thing, whatever you think of Romney, you got to admit it was bold, and he was following his principles
Yeah.
in voting against to remove Trump from office, right? How do you feel about the Romney decision?
I like that he did it. I like that Romney voted against or voted to impeach Trump
Remove
on one of the charges. Voted to remove Trump on one of the charges.
And Trump is like criticizing him and calling him a loser and saying that he's not really praying. Isn't that a little strange for the President of the United States to be doing that when Romney was just exercising his free will and his...
I don't know. It's almost the moral equivalent of boiling a bunny or tearing paper in half.
Actually, Rick, you shouldn't say tearing paper in half. Things have symbolic meaning.
Tearing the president's speech in half.
In front of Congress.
In front of Congress.
Yeah, it's weird, Rick, and violent. And as far as him criticizing Romney is a particular dirtbag because one thing that
Did you vote for that dirtbag in 2012?
one of the things that Trump did, I did vote for him, and I didn't know that he would be this low. The thing that bothers me the most about it is that Trump actually campaigned for him in Utah to get him into the Senate, and then he betrays Trump on the most outrageous charges that the Democrats come up with. There is a fellow named Dennis Prager, a philosopher in LA, who said something very interesting that I think is...
A radio guy.
I hadn't thought about this. He said that Al Gore, Hillary Clinton, and Romney have all become very peculiar after losing the election when they were the nominees. What he's saying is that sometimes these nominees that think they're going to win actually get warped. And I think Romney's never been the same after losing that election. Probably was never as great. I'm actually glad in a way that he was never elected. It was still better than Obama. But if he had been elected, I think he would have been a bad president and would have really damaged the Republican cause.
I think
Sounds like revisionist
real
history.
quick. I mean, I don't mean to argue for Rick, but
No, please.
I'm just saying in a way, I think you're absolutely right. But what does that say about Trump's judgment and voting and helping Romney get elected? Isn't Trump supposed to have the best judgment in the world?
I don't think anyone
got him elected.
I don't think anyone could have anticipated such an outrageous.
But Trump claims to have great judgment. I mean, he's the guy.
Well, he's not God.
All right, so
what Romney did was outrageous, and by the way, it's political suicide. This is unfortunately.
The guy's 72.
He still has 4 years left in office, so he'll
be 76. He doesn't give a shit.
Right, but and it shows me that his bitterness against Trump is overwhelming his judgment. McCain also went a little crazy after losing his election. So McCain, Gore, Romney, and Clinton all became shells of their former selves. Anyway, go ahead, Rick.
I don't know. That just seems like a bad argument. But what
It's not an argument. It's true. Have
Okay.
you noticed it?
No, I noticed the guy.
Gore ended up divorcing his wife because he was seducing the chambermaids in the hotels. They had this perfect marriage, and McCain.
Well, I haven't heard anything about that. I know they got
that's
divorced.
why they got divorced, because he was making passes at the maids in hotels.
I don't know.
He was getting massages.
Okay, so I got yelled at this on Twitter, but Romney got nearly 61 million votes in 2012 running against Obama. I would kind of like to see, I don't know, Warren is fading, but it's just Iowa and it's just New Hampshire, so she may come back. I'd like to see Romney in the VP, on the Democratic ticket as VP. I think that could be a very effective,
He's presidential.
yeah, like, I don't know, Biden Romney, if Biden hangs in there, or Warren Romney. I think that it could work. It could, it would show the bipartisanness that we've been missing badly over the past few years. And I
Clinton,
think,
Romney? Hillary and Romney?
no,
No.
I don't think that would fly.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Hillary's time, she's done.
Or Bloomberg and Romney, maybe?
Bloomberg Romney would be pretty interesting. I'd like that.
I would just like to say, somebody was commenting to me the other day, do you ever apologize to Rick for, being so aggressive? And I want to say something. I really think that if Rick's views were adopted by the American people, that it would be very dangerous and destructive. And I think that for the past 3 years, Rick has promoted something very harmful to the country.
This is going to be the number one most harmful view, because I was going to ask you. What if you think my views are harmful, you got to name the most harmful view.
Well, I mean, for one thing, God, where would I begin? All the Democrat policies on immigration and the Iraq War and the Iran situation, you've supported.
Like what? Like, do you mean that I thought the treaty was not great but better than nothing?
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, so that's
if your policies are very dangerous. You're not aware of it. I know you believe that you're trying to do the right thing, but I really have to. If it's my patriotic duty, I really have to. I can't allow any of his views to succeed, because if people were to vote for these things, the country would be in a lot of danger.
like the deal where I think that we should secure the border, but it doesn't have to be a wall in all the places that Trump wants a wall.
Rick.
I mean, because you say my views are. You have to tell me which views are.
You're always trying to split hairs in this weird, this weird Democrat way of finding fault. Like, well, yeah, I'm against this wall because there are places that it shouldn't be. Rick, don't you realize that you're either for the wall or you're not? And you can leave it up.
That sounds simplistic.
Because it's not simplistic. You can leave it up to the engineers who know better than you where to put the wall. But
okay,
I actually just recently, for example, now you're going to be hearing more about this. It turns out that Hillary Clinton was working with a company in Russia, and this company may have stolen the technology to create hypersonic weapons, the missiles that are unstoppable and would allow Russia to win a nuclear war. Now, this has yet to be developed.
Where'd you read about it?
This was, I heard about it on a podcast with, my mind goes blank. No, it was a Fox News reporter. Now, it may turn out that the connection is not solid, but if it turns out that she was working with this company that stole technology to create hypersonic weapons, then it's literally the worst act of any American politician in history. So this is the kind of thing that I have to save our country from, because you vote for these people and you don't think of any of the consequences. By the way, another thing
hold on. Hold on.
Yeah.
So you're saying that. So Russia claims to have these hypersonic weapons.
Hypersonic missiles. Yeah.
And you believe they have it, right? We shouldn't disbelieve them, right? I mean,
they're close.
All right.
In other words, they may not function as perfectly as as they're supposed to.
Okay, all right.
But they're on their way.
And we're like, what, 2 years behind?
We are if Trump
So
is
somehow-
desperately trying to close the gap.
So somehow, stolen technology.
Go ahead.
No, we'll just say they steal shit from us,
Yeah.
and that somehow gives them a
It's a
2 year,
knee slapper.
2 year advance. So they get to the shit 2 years before
Yeah.
even we do.
Yeah, Rick thinks this is laughable. Let me explain what
No,
let me just explain without you interrupting me what the hypersonic weapon can do.
They're so fast that
No,
there's
no,
you can't
Rick,
have
I said
countermeasures.
without interrupting me.
No, but I did. I
No,
interrupted.
no. Okay. This is what this weapon can do. The weapon can reach the United States in less than 15 minutes. So what that means is, if they have enough of these weapons, they can destroy all of our nuclear arsenal before we have time to even make a decision. Now, this is the first time in history, in recent history, that one side could win a nuclear war. So that's what we're talking about. And 2 years, by the way, Rick, they don't need 2 years, they need 2 hours.
Yeah, it's bad if they have those.
Yeah.
Did this happen on Trump's watch?
No, this happened during the Obama administration. They've been developing them, but it's possible. And I could read more about it to find out, the details, but we're looking at the possibility of that technology being transferred by a company that Hillary Clinton was a supporter of.
It sounds like
a lobbyist for.
sounds like bullshit to me,
Uh-huh.
but we'll see. 2,
But what we
How do
know,
you-
we know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
how do you steal technology that lets you come out with something 2 years ahead of the?
Well, I'll tell you how, Rick. It turns out that the United States wasn't developing these kinds of weapons. The reason is that, number one, they're very dangerous because they can go bad and shoot it at yourself. They're hard to control, and the second reason is that we had treaties that prevented us from building these weapons. So the United States was behind on purpose, deliberately, and the Russians were secretly developing them in ignoring assurances that they'd made to the.
All right, you say all this is going to come out, so
Is that-
develop your case.
Was that
Develop
Art?
your
Did you hear
case.
that from Art Bell?
What?
No, this was from
Oh,
a Fox
Art Bell.
News report.
Oh, okay.
All right, I think it's late.
But by the way, it's undisputable that the Chinese military contributed money to the Bill Clinton campaign.
All right, so show me that next week. We got to stop tonight because it's way late. Show me that if there's more to that case against Hillary, show me that, and give me if conservative sources are all you have, then show me the conservative sources, and then I'll go, well, conservative sources. But if you can find sources that are closer, because you found that PBS thing.
I don't know where this is going. I'm
All
just
right,
saying
all
that
right.
this is the level of danger. This is why I.
Well, you just said you don't know.
No, I'm talking about you, Rick. I'm saying this is why I take these debates seriously.
Okay.
Because the Democrats will cause evil to the United States.
All right, so I mean, I can't
And
argue.
they-
Wait, I can't argue with your motivation. If you think that I'm promulgating and promoting stuff that'll hurt America, then of course you have to argue with me, and that's okay. That's the deal. And I guess vice versa. And send us money or something. Lance versus Rick at gmail.com is our PayPal account. I'm sorry to ask you for money, but hey, we like money.
And we'll be going live for the first 30 minutes next week. So
All right,
we have
live again next week, and
at 11 Pacific, right?
11 Pacific, 2 a.m. East Coast time, 7 a.m. in Britain, 8 a.m. in Spain and France, I guess.
All right.
Bye.